Hey there, lady. My name is Molly Conley, and I'm devoted to helping women reinvent their love lives, whether that's after divorce, dating on and off the apps, or in their committed relationship. Why? Because I've been there. I'm a former college athlete who filed for divorce 3 years into marriage, swam in the online dating pool into my late 30s, and now I am married to the man of my spreadsheet dreams who I met 4 months before the world shut down. As a dating and relationship coach, I help my clients shift the focus from being obsessed with finding Mr. Right to shifting to herself as Miss Right Now. We build a foundation filled with clarity, connection, and confidence, knowing she is worth waiting for. Each week on the podcast, I'll bring you love life insights and savvy guests, where you will receive the courage to release programmed limiting beliefs. Discover patterns and behaviors restricting you from finding and attracting quality men, and ways to choose yourself first so you can build a foundation for a healthy relationship with yourself and a partner. Why, hello there, lady. Thank you so much for joining me on the Reinventing the Arena podcast. Before we get started with today's episode, I wanted to remind you that tomorrow is the free masterclass, What's Care Got to Do with It? Because let's be honest here, we've all done the typical self-care of bubble baths, shopping sprees, and girls' night out. But what if I told you self-care is really a lot more than that? Self-care isn't something that you do, but we've been told that it is. The global self-care industry is worth $1.5 trillion, which includes everything from like bath bombs to technology, helping us sleep, to the holistic care of, self within the wellness industry. We've been told self-care will help us relax, bring us joy, and it's something that we need to work for because we deserve it. Yet it's not the starting line to loving ourselves more. But it is a critical piece of the puzzle to love yourself and have a healthy relationship with a partner. So, tomorrow I'm going to be sharing the relationship between self care and self love, plus what's missing in between the two. You're also going to learn how some of your current self care routines are impacting your love life, plus what self care shifts you can make to connect to yourself more. And I guarantee you haven't heard of this before. You can register by heading over to my website, reinventingthearena.com, and going to the event page. If you're unable to make it, don't worry. I'll be sending out a replay within 48 hours. I'm also going to put the link in the show notes. Okay, 2 weeks ago on the podcast, I brought up how to make sure your path of finding love is yours by questioning your limiting beliefs, conditioning, mindset blocks, and, to start peeling back those layers to your core self. And then last week, I talked about the top 3 relationship myths and then the relationship roller coaster. Each of these podcasts feeds into the next, and this week's podcasts do the exact same. So I'm going to start off today with a client story. Earlier this year, a client of mine wanted help with how she approached dating, and we started to peel back her layers, and that's when she realized it was something else. She felt like her life was out of control, so she tried her best to find a way to fix it through, scheduling her days down to 15-minute increments, everything from work to gym time to meditation. She said her calendar runs her life, so much so that if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. And then any sort of change would throw her off her plans, mindset, and mood. The more we dug into her calendar and her need for structure, it revealed her mindset, which not only affected her self-care routine, but how she viewed herself. So, for example, if her 15 minutes of meditation didn't happen, she felt like a failure and it would ruin her entire week and possibly the rest of the month. The lack of flexibility in her life affected her so deeply that she didn't know how to find joy in the everyday. By the way, this habit of scheduling and way of thinking is pretty normal for ambitious women, especially if your self-sabotaging behavior is perfectionism. In order to move someone out of the all or nothing mindset, which is also known as the black and white mindset or black and white, way of thinking, you need to shift from awareness to acceptance. And accepting that you're not a superhuman or that you're not invincible can be quite humbling, opening yourself up to vulnerability to others. If you can relate to this client of mine, please know that these habits, the mindset is typical, like I said, of perfectionists, but it also has a mix of people pleasing. More often than not, you're wanting to do everything perfect, not just for yourself, but for, maybe your parents, your partner, before you even think of how it's going to affect you, which honestly you think won't affect you at all because you're a superhuman who can multitask with hypothetical ease. But if or when you get to this point, you're really battling what you want and need versus what others want, need, or expect of or from you, even if you don't know what you really want or what you really need. So here's where your self-care and your acceptance will come into play. The move to accepting where you are will have you go through moments of guilt and possibly shame as you look back at not meeting others' expectations and the expectations that you've set for yourself. Letting go of even your past, whether that's habits, belief, or even people, will be a challenge while you learn how to accept where you are. Now, you might be wondering how this is all connected to your love life. Don't worry, I got you there. Being able to accept yourself for who you are releases the pressure to be anything else. Over time, the weight is lifted off of your shoulders, stress melts away, and joy shows up more often than not. All of which affects how you engage with others, how you show up on a first date, how you communicate your needs in a relationship, and so much more. You have embraced your authenticity and you're open to being vulnerable. Of course, all of this sounds great, but how do you even get there? First, let's quickly chat about guilt and shame. If you haven't heard of Dr. Brené Brown yet, look her up. You can watch her TED Talk called Listening to Shame, which I'm going to put in the show notes, and check out her book, Daring Greatly: How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. Honestly, it's one of my favorite books. In the TED Talk, she says, and I'm going to read this quote, "Shame is a focus on self. Guilt is a focus on behavior. Shame is, I am bad. Guilt is, I did something bad. How many of you, if you did something that was hurtful to me, would be willing to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake? How many of you would be willing to say that? Guilt, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Shame, I'm sorry, I am a mistake." Pretty powerful words right there, don't you think? So when you think back to my client's situation with her all or nothing mindset, you can clearly see how shame would rush in as she couldn't meet her own expectations of sticking to a rigorous schedule. Shifting out of shame can take time, especially when you've been in it for quite a while. Being able to recognize the behaviors or patterns that got you into feeling shame is an important part of shifting out of it. For example, let's say you were ghosted by a guy that you were really excited to meet for a second date. Of course, you're going to feel a variety of emotions like anger, sadness, shame, whatever. But what behaviors led up to this moment? Now, I didn't have the self-confidence here to acknowledge that his actions of ghosting me said more about the type of person he was than it did about me. Recognizing where shame pops up in your love life will be helpful for you to move into self-acceptance in order to make better choices. And it will help give yourself some compassion too. One way to practice self-compassion is to be proactive versus reactive. Obviously, in both of these examples, my client and myself, there was some room for reflection. Reflection is one of the best places to start in this process. Determine the behaviors that are holding you back and ones that are contributing to your feelings of guilt and shame. Afterwards, you will want to figure out ways to show yourself compassion. You can do this through journaling or writing in some form. What did the experience teach you about yourself? What lessons are you grateful for? How can you show yourself compassion? What activities can you incorporate into your day, whether that's 15 minutes or an hour, to help you make better choices or create new habits? See how showing yourself compassion can actually lead you to taking better care of yourself? You're letting go of the past and starting to create a new path for yourself in your love life, which ties back to episode 51, first step to your path of finding love. Shifting out of shame, developing your self compassion to deepen your self love is all part of the process. Honestly, at this point, you're heading in a new direction. You're starting to deviate off the worn path that you've been on. So, are you ready to create your own path? Are you ready to go all in for yourself? Then you need to apply for building love inside and out. Today's episode touches on what we will cover in week 4, which is giving yourself grace and taking ownership, where you learn how your self-care today impacts your needs tomorrow so that you can make better choices for yourself in dating and in love. I will help you let go of the past through shifting shame, getting rid of guilt, and forgiving yourself and others for anything holding you back from creating your path. You'll determine how your current habits in your love life are pretending to meet your needs and discover new ways that will truly help you care and love yourself. Applications for Building Love Inside and Out close on Friday, September 1st, and I only have 10 spots available for women who are ready to stop settling for the love life they have and challenge themselves to create their own path. Each woman will receive weekly accountability and support from me while being in a group of like-minded women who want to put themselves first, that allows them to, show up authentically in their love life, who want to love with ease, who want to get crystal clear with what truly makes them feel loved, happy, and appreciated so they too can find a healthy, long-term, loving relationship. You'll receive an email on Monday with the week's theme and all links to our Zoom sessions, the accountability and support form, and a Q&A form. Tuesdays is going to be our 1-hour framework lesson where I'm going to dig into each week's topic, more than what I shared today, obviously. On Thursdays, you will have a group coaching hour where you can ask questions, but primarily it'll be live hot seat coaching. The 8-week group coaching course and program starts Monday, September 18th, and the application for the Building Love Inside and Out is in the show notes, or you can go to my website, reinventingthearena.com. Okay, lady, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will chat with you later on this week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If this show has helped you in some way, big or small, please let me know by leaving a review wherever you listen to the podcast. It really helps other women just like you find the show. Have a good rest of your day, lady, and I will talk to you next time.